Yes.
Kokela? Kokela. Chris Kokela grew up with an unstable father. This environment drove Chris to seek a safe harbor through clear, rational thinking. In college, Chris studied economics, which for decades has relied on the assumption that people make rational decisions. Recently, however, behavioral economics has shown that people are far from being irrational. Understanding irrational behavior so as to pursue his goal with clear, rational decisions continues as a lifelong journey for Chris. The title of Chris's speech today is, Are You Rational? Chris's objectives are to deliver an organized speech, and the timing is 5 to 7 minutes. Please put your hands together.
Thank you. How many of you make rational decisions? Raise your hand. All the time. 100% of the time? Oh yeah, no sweat. 75? And, okay. We can all agree that being rational is in our best interest. However, this raises some questions. How often are we rational? Why are we rational? Why are we irrational? How can we do better? Are there any patterns for us to observe? Let's explore these questions with an experiment. Each of you has a folded piece of paper in front of you. Inside is a story about an Asian flu crisis and 2 solutions to that flu crisis. Take a moment to read that and pick your solution to the Asian flu crisis. You don't need to shout out your answers. No one's scoring. Has everyone made a choice? Don't think too hard. Just make a choice. It's on the news, you get to vote, make a choice. Here we go. Okay. You've all made a choice. Who thinks they made a rational choice? Oh, not so many hands. Oh, come on. So I should tell you there are 2 versions of the choices. Same story, but 2 sets of choices. There's program 1 versus program 2 as one set of choices. There's program A versus program B as another set of choices. Who chose program 1 over program 2? And who chose program 2 over program 1? All right? And program A over program B? And program B over program A. Okay, so a smattering, right? This question was part of a study by a Nobel Prize winner in economics. His name is Daniel Kahneman, and he's actually a psychologist. The reason that's kind of important is, as Marielle mentioned in the introduction, economics, for the past 4 or 5 decades, all the economic thought was based on people being rational, and always rational. As we can tell so far in here, maybe just, practical knowledge, we're not always rational. So it's been kind of wayward for quite a long time. Let's look at the results of this. This question was used in a study with Stanford graduate students by Daniel Kahneman. Let's take a look at the results. I'm going to put them both up here so you can see them next to each other. Take a minute to think about your choice and where that fits. Program 1 was chosen 22% of the time over program 2, which was 78% of the choice. And for program A and B, program A was chosen 72% of the time, and program B was chosen 28% of the time. Notice that all of the answers, all of the choices are mathematically equivalent. Just looking at program 1 was framed, described as a loss of 400 lives. Program A was described as saving or a win of 200 lives, but it also means a loss of 400 lives. So mathematically, it's the same. Yet you can see the huge difference in what people chose because of the way it was described. So we can conclude a couple things from this. I mean, it's not a comprehensive study by any means. But one thing we can gather is that people are risk averse. They don't like to gamble, at least in this scenario. The choice of program A, 72%, indicates that. People were unwilling to risk any lives, even if it meant a possible gain of 400 additional lives. Another thing we can conclude is that people are loss averse. Loss aversion means that losing something has more discomfort than gaining something. Good example is, I suffer more, have more discomfort if I lose $10 versus the pleasure or the comfort of gaining $10. They're not the same. We can see that in the comparison between program 1 and program A. Here it's a win, here it's a loss. People are running from the loss, but they're running toward the gain. This has lots of implications for day-to-day life. Some of us sell for a living. If we're going to sell, perhaps we should frame and craft our pitch, our delivery, our closure to take advantage of loss aversion. More often than not, they'll head in the direction you want them to head. Another good example is in the financial markets. Let's say you chose Chevron stock 2 years ago. Today it shows a loss on paper, but you haven't realized that loss yet. Still sitting on paper. Do you choose to sell it or not? If you sell it, you realize that loss. You book it. Two colors.
I was just so into what you were saying.
Okay. Both expert and amateur investors have been shown to hold on to their losers because they don't want to suffer the loss. But that might not be a very rational or good decision. So studies like this show us that we have biases that produce irrational decisions. Some would argue that it is actually rational, and they cite the caveman days, where a loss was typically a loss of life, and a gain might have been a slightly better meal. So clearly being averse to loss there, more so than seeking the gain, would be advantageous. Whatever the case, everyone would benefit from understanding their rationality and irrationality. So I challenge you, as we gyrate into the new year, take a step back, go to the balcony, look down on yourself here and there, and evaluate your decision-making process and whether or not you are acting rationally or irrationally. Thank you.